Data has shown that the majority of persons who have contracted COVID-19 in Jamaica are asymptomatic. That means they are not showing any symptoms. Most are also classified as not seriously ill. Something to celebrate, but we must remain resolute in this fight. Never forget, someone you know may be a carrier but not exhibiting symptoms. Let's not lose sight of the prize. Continue to adhere to the measures outlined by the Ministry of Health and Wellness, such as maintaining social distancing of at least 6 feet and wearing a mask in public spaces. This is Jamaica Magazine and I'm Adrian Atkinson. Stay with us.
How would you want to be treated if you were diagnosed with COVID-19? Not like this.
Them will talk how I'm wicked and if dead, and they behave like I am the one that created the virus. All my friends as well that were positive, them going through even worse than what I'm going through. Persons are calling police on them as well.
Do not allow your fear of COVID-19 to rob you of your humanity. There is no need to shun or victimize persons with the disease or those on the front line.
To mistreat persons that do have it, it's not a good feeling. We don't cause this on ourselves.
We really need to cut the hate and work together as a country, as communities to overcome.
Let us be understanding with those affected and support each other. Be kind. End the stigma.
Up next, critical information on the fight to contain the spread of the novel coronavirus in Jamaica.
I am very pleased to report that we have had no new confirmed case in the last 24 hours. And I'm also happy to report that four more persons were recorded as being recovered and released. This means that we now have 520 confirmed cases with 131 recoveries and unfortunately 9 Jamaicans died with the disease. Therefore, there are currently 380 active cases. Today, Cabinet approved specific protocols related to the re-entry of this particular ship, the Anthem of the Seas, which will repatriate the largest number of Jamaicans at any one time to date. We have now given approval for the Royal Caribbean cruise ship to arrive in Falmouth at noon tomorrow. The cruise ship workers will be disembarked in groups of 200 every 48 to 72 hours, and after testing will be taken to the Grand Bahia Principe, where they will be accommodated. They will each, as I said, be tested, and the 48 to 72 hour period is to allow time for results to be available. We have secured 400 additional rooms at the Bahia Principe to facilitate this phased disembarkation. Persons whose tests are positive will be moved into a state quarantine facility until they recover. All others will be allowed to go home and self-quarantine for a further period to 14 days from the date of disembarkation. The home quarantine period will end 14 days after they disembark the vessel, providing, of course, that they test negative, which is a positive thing. Persons allowed to quarantine at home will need to consent to have their locations geofenced using smart technology through the Jam COVID-19 app, and to do a video check-in multiple times a day while in quarantine. I'll now turn to the St. Mary quarantine. The communities of Dover, Enfield, and Another Bay were placed under quarantine on May 7th for 2 weeks. During the period, contact tracing was enhanced, and in total, 130 samples were collected from contacts. 2 were positive, bringing the total positives in the quarantine areas to 16. Based on these outcomes, the quarantine will be lifted at the end of the 2-week period. Community surveillance will continue in the affected communities, and influenza-like illnesses and severe acute respiratory infections surveillance will continue in all the health facilities. The current work-from-home orders will expire at the end of May. We intend to allow persons other than our vulnerable population, that is persons aged 65 and over or persons with comorbidities, we intend to allow all other persons who are working persons to be allowed to return to work effective June 1.
We will write the CXC on the 27th of July. Starting on the 27th, it takes about a couple of weeks into August to complete it. But the process will start on the 27th of July. And the question of social distance, it can be accommodated quite easily because all the other children are out of school, and it will be quite convenient. We will get through quite well. We will now go about the business of making the logistical arrangements so that no one who is taking this exam, beyond the challenges that they've already had, that they will in any way be compromised.
Tomorrow, the 19th, the reopening of community bars and taverns will take place. I want to state clearly that the opening tomorrow only speaks to community bars and taverns. That means sport bars, nightclubs, and other establishments that sells alcohol will remain closed as the order stipulated previously. We did a sampling island-wide, Prime Minister, and based on the sampling that we did, points to 89% of the locations that were sampled are in high gear in making preparations for the reopening. We are expecting full compliance in some areas. I know that there are going to be challenges in some areas, especially the size of some of these bars. And some of the concerns that we are getting is about the seating arrangement, Prime Minister, outside of these bars, and these are something that we will take under consideration.
For years, Jamaica has been talking about becoming the place of choice for meetings and conventions and other events. We have seen the construction of the International Seabed Authority building in downtown Kingston, the Montego Bay Convention Center, and meeting rooms established by a number of hotels, but we have not fully capitalized on the vast potential of the meetings and conventions market after having all of those assets. We have to put our thinking caps on, so to speak effectively and addressing the issues. To this end, the Knowledge Network will do the following. It will develop a central information repository and online tourism knowledge portal. Ease of information in this day and age is a given. People need to know where it is, and it needs to be at their fingertips. We need to conduct a convention center review. Once again, asking everyone, do we have the facilities? What are the gaps? And how well are we doing? We need to know where we are before we start moving forward. Develop an edutourism map, package, and market best practices document. And we need to host a major international forum to explain after all of that to the global markets just what Jamaica's capabilities are.
Jamaica is a beloved tourist destination. Welcoming more than 4 million visitors annually is a testament to that. That's why the government has started to implement plans for the reopening of the industry. Watch this to hear how that will be done.
We depend heavily on tourism. Tourism is our number one foreign exchange earner, accounting for over 50% of the foreign exchange that we earn. So we have to start planning from now for the reopening and recovery of the industry.
I remain optimistic. Tourism is a resilient sector which can bounce back from disaster a lot easier than many other economic sectors. The COVID-19 Tourism Recovery Task Force was formed to bring together some of Jamaica's best minds to marshal a recovery plan for our tourism industry, which has been hard hit by the pandemic. So, what strides have we made in the recovery process today? We are being guided by a 5-point recovery strategy. 1, robust protocol that will withstand local and international scrutiny, which are being formulated now by the Tourism Development Company in collaboration with the Ministry of Health and Wellness and PricewaterhouseCoopers. Training for all sectors to manage protocol and new behavior patterns is the second leg of this strategy. The third is to build strategies around COVID security infrastructure, and that's the PPE such as masks and infrared machines and all other types of equipment that are emerging as the innovation drives our technological responses to the need for COVID security. Communications with the local and international markets. And this is a very important part of our considerations. And already we are on a number of international circuits talking about Jamaica's preparedness and our readiness. A staggering approach also we're looking at in terms of the reopening. So that's the fifth pillar, is that we do not see reopening as being a one-shot activity that immediately everywhere will be open. We're looking also at how to work with Ministry of Health in all aspects of ensuring that testing and tracing as a key part of their responsibilities is enhanced within the tourism sector. How social distance is going to now comport with Jamaica's tradition of sun, sea and sun and a lot of fun. And I made the point that the creativity that has already been expressed by a number of our partners is showing how these social distances can be achieved on our beaches. A new configuration will emerge on our beaches, the way we even arrange furnishings on the beaches to accommodate our swimmers and so on. And then how we treat with pools and we function within that. And then of course there's a question of how do we deal with dining and other social facilities and activities within the hotel. So all of those protocols are being worked out. Already the hotels are coming up with protocols that are probably more vigorous and more bullish than even we are thinking. The matter of public education and communication. We're going to be embarking on a major program there to ensure that the communities understand what the new tourism is going to be looking like and what working with COVID and then in the long run post-COVID tourism is going to be like. The working group for this will be chaired by Wilfred Bagaloo of Pricewaterhouse, and he will have a technical subcommittee that will be holding extensive consultations with tourism stakeholders, including the Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association, to discuss recommended timelines for reopening and protocols to be implemented within the tourism entities. This is an industry that is responsible for 9.5% of Jamaica's GDP, and it employs 170,000 people directly, while indirectly impacting at least another 150. Tourism is indeed lifeblood of Jamaica. And for economic recovery to happen, tourism must recover. We are using the term COVID resilience as being the overall guiding philosophy of our efforts. We are going to become a COVID resilient destination.
Tip number 1. Keep your regular medication and other supplies well stocked. Ensure there is access to several weeks of medications and supplies in case there is a need for you to stay home. Monitor food and other medical supplies needed and create a plan in the event that such resources become depleted. Tip number 2. Stay sanitized. Tip number 3. Respond to multi-generational living situations. Many older adults live in homes where other members, such as children, may have frequent colds. Therefore, do not share personal items like food, water bottles, and utensils. If possible, choose a room in your home that can be used to separate sick household members from those who are healthy. Tip number 4. Develop intentional caregiver plans. Older adults may be caregivers or may receive care themselves. Caregivers and care recipients should discuss their preparation plans, including how to stay in touch via phone or email. Determine who can provide you with care if your caregiver gets sick. And tip number 5. Keep abreast of essential up-to-date information. That means you should find and regularly check a trusted information source.
In the fight against COVID-19, everyone counts. The government has demonstrated that by implementing measures for vulnerable groups. For instance, older adults have their own concierge service. Take a look.
The late South African leader Nelson Mandela once said, "A society that does not value its older people denies its roots and endangers its future. Let us strive to enhance their capacity to support themselves for as long as possible, and when they cannot do so anymore, to care for them." It's a message with renewed significance in this COVID-19 fight. Adults 60 years and older are listed among the most vulnerable to be impacted severely by the novel coronavirus. Protecting them requires deliberate action. The Jamaican government, through the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development, has taken lead on this by providing access to medical care, food, and sanitation supplies.
All persons 75 years and older must stay at home. The established studies that have been done around it suggest that the susceptible group, the group that is most affected in a critical way, are our seniors, 65 years and above. They will be allowed to conduct the essentials of life, but under certain restrictions. This is not isolating them, locking them off. This is a little bit of social distancing, but it is not social isolation. All right? Still call them on the phone, go and look for them, carry food, make sure they're all right, keep engaging them. But remember that if you are young and healthy and you get the disease, the probability of you recovering is far greater than the probability of your grandparent, or even your parent, and you may not even show symptoms. You may have a slight cold, as I say, and you recover, but you are transmitting. You are still carrying the disease, and you go and you hug up grandma, and poor grandma gets sick, and it was all because of you.
While government implements that policy to keep older adults at home, it is making sure their needs are not neglected. So the local government ministry has set up the Rona Helpline Senior Care Response Initiative. It is designed to aid senior citizens over the age of 70 years old who are in critical need. The ministry is executing the program through the Social Development Commission. The Rona Helpline Senior Care Response Initiative works by establishing contact points for senior citizens. Seniors may call in to the contact points requesting assistance to complete critical services they may need while being indoors. Concierge services being done on behalf of the seniors include filling prescriptions, grocery shopping, and transportation to health facilities for urgent care. The transportation and logistics costs for the critical supplies are free to the seniors. They pay for the cost of the groceries or medications, but not to have it delivered to their doorsteps. There are 16 contact point offices island-wide. The main one is headquartered at the local government ministry, while the other 15 locations are SDC parish offices. These contact points manage and coordinate the island-wide response to the elderly population. Seniors may call in to the contact points with their specific needs from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Mondays to Fridays. Officers and volunteers will screen calls to ensure the validity of the requests. The SDC's officers will then mobilize to fulfill the urgent needs of the seniors. In addition, if necessary and based on the assistance required, reliable individuals are dispatched to the home of the elderly person to provide the specific support requested. Beating COVID-19 by providing a senior care response is a priority for the Jamaican government. If you are a senior citizen and you are in need of such assistance, call the Rona Helpline at 876-618-8218, 876-879-8948, or 876-879-8950. You may also call the SDC's parish office in your area. If you did not catch the number for your parish, the contact points numbers are listed on the social media pages of the local government ministry and the SDC.
An important message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness. What to do if you think you have been exposed or are experiencing signs and symptoms of COVID-19. Immediately call 888-1-LOVE. That's 888-663-5683. In addition, you should stay at home. Don't go to work, school, or any public place. Do not use public transport, and avoid visitors to your home. You may need to do this for up to 14 days to reduce the spread of the infection. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
This crisis is filled with several uncertainties, such as job security. That means now is the time to save. Do not splurge. It is best to concentrate on the necessities of life. Here are a few money-saving tips.
With COVID-19 now in Jamaica, we are being advised to stock up on hygiene supplies that can be used to protect ourselves, as well as to have at least 2 weeks' supply of food and water in reserve. A lot of us may not have the disposable income to readily do that, at least not without tapping into a little savings we have managed to put aside. But financial experts will tell you, whatever the need, it is important not to deplete our savings, and money management is critically important. But how to do that? First, don't rush to shop, or panic shopping as they put it. Why? because you may buy things you don't immediately need, leading to wasted spending. Next, I would say assess your home situation. Check how many persons are in the family, if there are babies, toddlers, and persons with special needs. You should then decide on the amount of available money you have to spend. Make a list of the things you need. The experts suggest at least 2 weeks' supply of basic food items and medication. To help with your shopping list, it's a good idea to work out a meal plan for the period. Next, be disciplined. Try not to divert from this meal plan too much and finish the supply early. This would mean going back to the store to spend more money. Protecting your health is priority number 1, and being smart with your expenses actually supports that. We must remember that we are not sure how long the country will be going through this pandemic. So, as best as possible, we need to ensure our money can carry us through for as long as possible and hopefully have reserves for after.
From the data, we can see that most countries will enter a phase of rapid increase in cases. However, depending on the containment measures employed and the timeliness and effectiveness of their implementation, the severity of the increase in infections can be managed downwards. Empowering citizens with information that encourages responsible personal hygiene and community health behavior, such as washing hands regularly and staying home if ill, tracing and containing infected and contact cases, that is, quarantine measures, and implementing social distancing measures, gathering restrictions, for example, have real effects on slowing down and containing the spread of the virus.
It is said that by May, the country may have reached the peak of confirmed cases of COVID-19, but the recovery process and further containment measures may still be in place for a few more months. So, what else can you do to protect your financial health? A key thing is to not max out your credit card and income because you are worried that supplies will run out. Check for moratorium on mortgages and loans. Use this as a reserve cash flow instead of your pay or savings. I know it's easy to get off track with plans, but we have to be disciplined and we have to prioritize, now more than ever.
You've reached the final page of the magazine. Thanks so much for being with us on today's journey. Another Jamaica Magazine unfolds tomorrow, so come back same time on this station. Until then, click on our social media pages for more informative features. While there, please subscribe to our pages and channels so you can stay in the know. I'm Adrian Atkinson on behalf of all of us at the GIS, encouraging you to turn your yard.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.